Hi guys, Lucy aka The Watchbugs Diaries here with another review. And today's review comes in the form of a Grand Seiko that you may or may not have come across before, and that is because this particular reference, the SBGH269, and I only remember that reference because it makes me giggle every time. But this particular reference, they only made 900 of worldwide, so I'm pretty lucky to have been able to get my hands on one, and I thought I would share my female thoughts for you guys. So without further ado, let's talk about the watch. Come on. So in true Grand Seiko style, this particular piece is influenced very heavily by nature, obviously, but I don't hate it. It's actually one of the reasons that I love Grand Seiko, because of the amount of elements that they bring in from nature and influences that they have. I'm a fan of that kind of thing, but if you're not, it's still a bloody nice dial. Okay, so back to where it takes inspiration from. This is their transition between summer and autumn. This is obviously one of their autumn pieces, but this is influenced very, very heavily by the reds of the changing leaves of a typical Japanese forest. And I am just so in love with that dial colour. It is another one of those where Grand Seiko is so good at playing with the light. You take it outside and it is this beautiful bright red shade. You take it indoors or even an overcast and it becomes this lovely, like, darker mahogany shade. Yeah, so it just plays with that light so incredibly well. Autumn is one of my favourite months. And it's mostly because autumn walks are the best. Walking through a forest or a wood, or, you know, driving through the countryside, and you see just the 100 array of shades of browns and greens and oranges and reds, and it feeds my soul, you know? It just makes me so happy to see that. And I think of that every time I look at this dial. Now, texture-wise, it's a bit of a stretch, but I'm going with it. I'm accepting it and I'm going with it. So that gorgeous sort of vertical pattern that they've got going on this dial is inspired by those beautiful reds reflecting on the lacquered wooden floor of traditional Japanese architecture. Now I can kind of see it, like I can picture it in my head. I've got quite a good imagination, that's probably why. But if you're not into all that and you just don't get it, again, it's such a nice pattern to look at, regardless of sort of what it's been influenced by. It's just cool to look at. So moving on to the details of this watch. In more true Grand Seiko style, the Zaratsu polishing is so good. So good. Oh, like, I'm obsessed with Zaratsu polishing. Apparently it takes like 3 years to be able to do this within their workshop, like 3 years of training. And you can tell this is an absolute art form. Those edges, those mirror-like edges are so sharp, like so sharp. It's beautiful to look at. Speaking of sharp edges, can we talk about the hands? Like, how good are they? Not only are they like sword-like sharpness, but also they are capped on the top, so they're flat, which you don't see in many watches at this price range. They are definitely more of a high-end design, and I'm going to say this a million times in this video, by the way, in true Grand Seiko style, they are impeccably done. So if you love a beautiful, smooth second hand, super smooth, like you do have on the spring drive, and you like the accuracy, but you are not a massive fan of that Marmite power reserve on the front of the dial, then I think this is a pretty good close second. Pretty good close second. Yeah, no, that's right. Pretty good, very close second option, because this 9S85 movement, I believe, it's a high beat movement and it is high frequency, so it gives an almost sweeping motion as it goes around because of how much of a high frequency that it beats in. Speaking of movements, if you flip the watch around, as nice as the front is, the back is also pretty interesting. Now it has a very unusual green rotor. I don't think I've ever seen this on another watch. Maybe I just haven't seen enough watches yet. There are a lot out there. Now this green rotor is Anodized titanium. I think on their website it says bluey green shade, but it is 100% green, whether there are different ranges of shades throughout the 900 pieces, but this one that I have is 100% green. It's pretty unique, and also like tying back to the nature thing, they have brought it all together, like the back and the front together, because the green is actually supposed to symbolise the pre-turning of the leaves, so from green to red. Okay, so gripes. In true Grand Seiko style, yes, I said it again, it has a weird lug width. So this is a 19mm lug width, which makes it so difficult to find good straps. Not impossible, there are some out there, and they are getting better option-wise, but why 19, Grand Seiko? Why? Now, I am a big fan of the boutte of this watch. It's cool, it's really interesting, and it's pretty unique. However, I am much more of a fan of being able to see a movement, and I don't think the cutouts on this piece are big enough. They need to be bigger. You need to take that logo off the back and give me another, you know, space to be able to see that interesting movement of that high beat. Give me more movement, Grand Seiko. I need more movement. Now, my last gripe, I don't know whether this is an itty bitty wrist committee problem or whether other people have the same problem with this watch. So if you have managed to get your hands on one of this 900, then let me know in the comments down below whether you have this problem as well. But it's a pretty top heavy watch. And by that, I mean, the watch head itself, although it's not overly sized, it's a 39.5mm watch and it's 13mm high, it's quite hefty compared to the strap, bracelet, clasp situation. So it does mean that if it's a bit colder, and when I move my wrist, the watch head does rotate a lot more than I would like it to, which isn't a problem if it fits really, really nicely, but if there's a little bit of movement in there, it doesn't sit exactly where you need it to stay, that's all. I am obsessed with this dial. It's so good. If you have the opportunity to see one of these in person, go and look at one in person, because pictures, my videos especially, just don't do it justice. It's so beautiful. That is it from me, people. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you've got any additional questions, or whether you just completely disagree with everything I've just said, let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you can help a girl out, make sure you have liked this video and you have subscribed to the channel. That would be awesome. And also, if you've enjoyed this style of video and you are super excited for more, make sure you turn on that little bell to be notified of future videos. But until next time, bye.